that it's important given.
Yeah, it's recording right now.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Lisa. I don't know, do we have everyone here that that we were expecting? Oh, St. Clair and Bill are here. St. Clair and Bill are here. That's Are we expecting Barbara Byron to be joining us today? Did you get a response?
I don't think Barbara is going to be joining us.
Okay.
I don't see John Carter.
Yeah, where's John Carter? I was just going to send him the, let me email him the link. Okay. Well, if it's okay with y'all, do you mind if I go ahead and kind of share my screen and take the driver's seat through this? Are y'all okay with that?
Yeah, please do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what I wanted to do is to first go through the.
It won't let me wait. Hey, oh, okay. It just started. I don't know. Maybe I was just too soon. Okay, I think I'm on now.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis.
Hey there. I'm okay. I'm on now. I was having trouble getting on before. Thanks, Gary.
We see you.
Hey, Lynn,
okay, well, that's good.
Lynn,
yeah.
Before you start, can we go through everyone? Okay, now we have the names at the bottom. Didn't have that before. Thank you.
Sure.
I want to know who all is on the meeting.
Okay. Well, Lisa has figured out how to turn on the record function. So the folks that have joined since she turned on the record function, this meeting is being recorded. So just in the spirit of transparency. And what I was hoping we could do is I've shared the land use and design. So I've advanced to the actual chapter. So we know that there are 12 pages in this document that are more of kind of the whole comprehensive plan. And we were thinking that we would insert pages in there, but I wanted to advance directly to the land use and design chapter and first go through the comments and the land use working group's response. And we're hoping that we'll be able to get some of this resolved. What? Okay. So the first, so Bill Malin suggested calling medium density to match the zoning ordinance where we have low density. And, you know, I guess the question is, do we want to ensure that this directly matches what's in the zoning ordinance, or?
Well, if I may, it's not going to directly match because the way the zoning ordinance is low density is below 5 dwellings per acre. Medium is up to 20 and high is up to 50. So, you know, the plan kind of makes that distinction in the middle from 5 to 12 and 13 to 20. And that's fine. I just think there could be a better way, and this is current plan language, so it could be a better way to try to sync those two things together. And the last one, the high density multifamily, I think that's one that it's creating confusion. It's always created confusion. That is meant to only talk about PRC non-TSA areas. That is not a TSA designation. That is not it's a PRC designation, and it only applies when you look at the map. It's only applied to 2 properties in the area, and that is Charter Oaks and the Harrison. And we've had discussions about both of those and fixing that issue. So I think that high density multifamily, greater than 50 DUs per acre, could be removed completely, not only in this chart, but also in the map.
Okay, but we need to say, because this is called Reston area wide, which would include the TSA.
Well, again, That's true, but when you're looking at the TSA, the high density multifamily is not a designation in the land use. It designates either as transit station mix or residential mix. It doesn't use that term of high density multifamily. When you go up to the land use map, you'll see on the categories, and it has 3 separate categories. You have countywide, rest of land use categories, TSA categories. The rest of land use categories is where you see that that chart refers to. So you need to read that chart and this map together and understand how they work together, so that you have that high density multifamily of 50 DUs plus. The only 2 places it shows up again is Charter Oaks and Harrison, and it was never meant to say that those 2 places can exceed 50 dwelling units, because that would not be in accordance with the zoning ordinance. What they did was, the Harrison, that entire U area, where the dark orange is and the brown is, that was one development plan that had a 50 DUs per acre high density associated with it. So
That's the previous Jonathan's Keep.
Correct.
That's
so they
now
used the density of the entire U to put more on that one spot. And what staff did back in 2015 is they looked at almost at a tax map level versus a development plan level to figure out density. So that's why you have that outlier here. I think that's fixable. I think you can label that as high density. Maybe you have some language in the neighborhood section to clarify what that means.
Okay, so Bill, just to clarify, the low density multifamily 13 to 20, that's what the legend reads in the map. So we were just pulling this from the map.
I understand that, and I'm not saying there's an issue. I think this is stuff that I've always had issues with on the previous plan, where it doesn't match the zoning ordinance well. Was my issue.
So is the plan then to upgrade the map so that it better matches the zoning ordinance?
That was my suggestion. So I mean, it could stay as is.
No, let's.
Or it could be, working on trying to match in the labeling. The 13 to 20, the 5 to 12, that's medium density currently under the zoning ordinance.
All right, so then the map legend will be changed to medium density, and the 21 to 50 will be changed to
high density.
High density, and this high density multifamily is going to be
deleted.
removed.
Right.
So that will also then delete the Harrison and Charter Oak.
So those areas, Harrison, I think we talked about, identify as high density, and then Charter Oaks. Charter Oaks, when you look at it's medium only if you go back. Can you leave it on that what you were there?
Oh, yep.
And if you zoom in on Charter Oaks, you see there's 3 parcels that are part of that original development plan approval. 2 of those parcels are identified in brown. The next parcel is up to the left in green. That's RA property. Those 3 parcels together, if you add them up and figure out the density in those 3 parcels, put it as medium. If you only figure out the density on the 2 parcels, it's high because it's 21 dwelling units per acre.
Can I have a question, please?
Yes.
Why is a property owned by RA that does not put dwelling units on anything being aggregated with the real legitimate Charter Oak stuff? That I do not understand.
So it goes back historically to the original development plan for Charter Oaks, and it actually goes back to the plan for Reston. Those 3 parcels were all designated as high density residential, and obviously RA took the 1 and the 2 remained Charter Oaks. So if you want to keep it and not aggregate the density onto the RA property, that's fine. However, those 2 properties of Charter Oaks will be 21 dwelling units per acre, which is high density. You can't put it as a medium density category only on 2 parcels. If the desire is to put it as medium density, you have to aggregate it on 3 parcels. If you want to aggregate it on the 2 parcels, it has to be high density. I think you can do what you've already done in the plan, is say, while it shows as high density, it's approved for as is.
Okay, so I have a question. Is the green RA property that you're referring to the little tiny triangle of green below the 1?
Yeah, right above it. Yep.
Okay, right there.
Yep.
So we're
No. Sorry, up to the left. Yep,
Here?
right there. Yes.
So
that.
this is
No,
the
no, no,
park.
no. On the same side. Same side of the road as Charter Oaks, directly to above to the left.
Here.
Yes.
But you're
No,
not going to
that's
change
golf
that, right?
course. That's golf course down.
No,
So-
there's a pathway that cuts through here.
When you pull the original development plan for this area, those 3 parcels, what was designated as high density.
Okay,
the
so
only-
Bill, are you saying that we are pulling the RA into it to get 3 versus 2?
What I'm saying is you have 2 choices, and I don't care which choice you do. Either you take the 2 areas that designated as Charter Oaks today and reflect it as high density because there's 21 dwelling units per acre on those 2 parcels, and have site-specific language that basically says it is what it is, and that's what you have here today. Or you aggregate on all 3 parcels historically as it shows, and then show it as medium density. Either way is fine. If you think there's an issue putting a designation of medium density on RA property, then don't do that option. But if you think it's if I think it's perfectly fine showing high density for Charter Oaks as it shows 50 plus, but then leaving the language you have in the plan, which basically says the existing development is what we want it to remain.
Okay, but I knowing the owner of this, that worries me because they're going to push like crazy to densify that property.
And I understand, and I know that. I mean, it's been years, and I don't know if they've had meetings the last couple of years. I know we had many meetings with this property owner, the previous property owner, back in 2015, 2016 timeframe about doing high density. They just never came forward with anything. It was very, very preliminary, just basic discussions, and they never moved forward with anything. There'll be an argument, but it's not unusual when you went back to 2015 when the plan got amended for Reston and outside of TSA. Almost all areas that were developed as medium or low got replanned for medium or low, and Charter Oaks was one of those cases that did not. It's developed at 21 dwellings per acre, but they kept the high designation on. They're actually 50 plus, and a couple other places had it. So I think it's consistent what was done in 2015. Could they make an argument that they have a higher entitlement? Sure, they could, because they do.
Hey, Lynn.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, look, I'm a bit concerned about this. I mean, we've been told time and time again that the plan is a vision, it's a guideline, it's these sorts of things, but it's also going to be around for at least 5 and who knows, maybe 10 or more years into the future. And I think we got to be worried about that. The first thing that strikes me is the PRC and the population cap, and that we should be very careful about allowing or indicating that it's part of a plan to significantly increase the density in these areas. So I think we ought to stick with the lower level. It allows, as Bill said, it allows certainly replacement of what's there now. And I think that's more in keeping with our vision for the area.
Okay, so then Bill, what you're saying is that we would take these 3 parcels. So where my cursor is, the 1 and this little triangle here, and turn that into all medium density.
Correct.
Why would you change the triangle? Why would you change the triangle?
So
just change the red to medium density and be done with it.
Well, when you look at the numbers, and this is in your highlighted area under Charter Oaks, 262 units on 12 acres is 21 dwelling units per acre. The numbers don't match. Medium density is under 20. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
So I personally, I think if you don't want to touch the RA site, which I understand, you show it as high density, but then you have the site-specific language that basically says the existing density is what remains, and I think that addresses the concern about redevelopment. So you don't just look at the map and say, well, it says high density, I can do more. you look at the site-specific language in addition to the map and says it's high density because there's 21 dwellings per acres, but the existing development is what it's planned to remain.
And they're not entitled to the maximum.
Yeah, and that's,
automatically.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. So,
I
Yeah.
So,
s-
Bill, as I understand it, this is a math issue, and simply by adding the RA area, which no one will ever build on, hopefully, you get to where you can call it medium instead of high.
correct.
Right.
Which I'm fine with that.
I don't, it's either way. And it's, historically, there is support to adding the RA property back in because that was historically part of the development plan area.
This is Clara Johnson. Just speaking from the comp plan perspective, that is the case that the site-specific guidance that sets the plan guidance. If you happen to be in a category on a map, it is not the case that you are planned for any more than the site-specific guidance. I just wanted
Thank
to
you, Clara.
So you may want to have that discussion if you're thinking about adding area, just talking to RA. If they have a bad reaction to it, then, you know, do the other option of just keeping the, I think you want to keep the site-specific language in there regardless that you have in.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
it may
that's
be
correct.
better just leaving it as just remapping those 2 properties versus all 3.
Okay. Terrific.
Is
So
there
we
any
will
problem?
then- So John,
Why
you're
can't you
on now.
leave this is a land use map. It's not the zoning map. It's the land use map. So if there's some concern about the density, why can't you leave the RA green and leave the rest of it medium density? And you calculate on the green plus the medium density if that's a problem. You don't have to change the land use to make the zoning work. You see that? Am I confusing things? Maybe. Maybe the text needs some language in it to clarify this one. Would that help, Bill?
Possibly. My concern was, and it's later in the document, when you look at Charter Oak specifically, it referenced the existing development, which is I think 262 units, and the existing acreage of 12. The math doesn't work out as medium was my concern.
So maybe you ought to make that clear in the text somehow. I don't know. I would try to keep it medium density. That goes along with the rest of our text that says, hey, we're trying to save these multifamily areas and not up the density in them. So that,
yeah, I mean, we can work
and whether you include RA or not, I'm not sure what's best. Whatever Bill's lead would be on that would be fine.
I mean, I think having a conversation with RA will help inform that decision, because if they don't like the idea, then I want to go that route.
Yeah, that's
we're all on the same page as Charter Oak stays as is. It's just figuring out the exact way to do it, and we can work through that detail.
Okay, so John, before you joined, we were having this first discussion regarding Bill's recommendation that the zoning.
I was here. I heard that.
Oh, okay,
So
good.
we're just going to eliminate the high density.
The high density multifamily.
Yeah,
in
this is the
PSA.
legend for the map. This is the legend for the map.
Exactly.
So you see them together. So I think that's right, Bill. So you just eliminate the high because there isn't any high in the neighborhoods. And then we'll just have to work between the map and the legend to make them the same. So it's probably a matter of changing the map a little bit to match what you have on here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the high density multifamily will be deleted. I'm just going to call this a reconciliation.
We'll have to fix the map to remove those 2 areas.
Yeah.
Or modify them.
The other thing you could do is eliminate the words low and medium, and then it would match the map today. But it's really it's the density that's important. It's not whether it's low, medium, or high.
Yeah, and I mentioned before the term in the zoning ordinance is high density. It doesn't go high density multifamily, it's just high density, which is at 21 to 50. And medium is the 5 plus to 20.
Right.
So we're going to change low to medium and medium to high.
Yeah.
And that will be reflected on the map as well, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that works. Now that people keep thinking of this as the PRC area, which it's not.
Mm.
There are many other zones in the neighborhood area. So this doesn't run afoul of that, right?
Well, when you look at this language here and you look at the map, these are the PRC categories. The non-PRC categories are defined in the map differently. So the non-PRC does not use these definitions when you look at the map, and the TSA, whether it's PRC or not, also does not use these designations. This is PRC neighborhood. It's nothing else but that.
So should we change this Reston area-wide title to Reston
Yes.
PRC?
Sounds like it. Sounds
Yes,
like we should.
absolutely.
Okay.
And that may need to be adjusted on the map too, because I think it left the, I think it says the opposite, but I think that's a good clarification.
Yeah, it's Reston land use categories. So we'll
Right.
want to change that to Reston PRC
Right.
land use categories. Okay, good.
Good.
Thank you, Bill. This is wonderful to
Bill.
get this straightened
Yes.
out.
I know this is a little bit detailed, but I think this is worth it to make this job.
Absolutely. I agree. Okay, so we're going to change low to medium, and then medium to high, and then this will be deleted.
If you want to, I want to
Okay.
also, it's high density single family. If that could be medium density, I mean, that's their choice. Again, this matches up with the medium category of the zoning ordinance. It's up to you on that one.
Well, what do you think?
Just a matter of changing the map.
Correct. It'd be both. Yeah, we'd have to adjust the map in here, but it doesn't functionally change what's permitted. It just kind of keeps them a little bit more in sync than it is today.
So you think medium?
Yeah.
Medium density, single family?
Yeah.
Or there is no high density single family then?
Right.
All right.
I
And
think
there's
at 12
no-
dwelling units per acre, I mean, that's still medium density in my mind.
Yeah, and there's no low density multifamily then?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Okay,
Lynn,
thank you.
put a notation on to change the map.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the map. I'll put it down here with the map.
Thank you.
What matters is the second column where you have the densities.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to adjust the map to match these. Because the map has the low density is a little off in the map. And
Right.
it was that way
Right.
today. So.
Right.
Okay, and we
Good.
reconciled this comment that Bill made that this residential without residential, and it contradicts the statement. So the statement that we made was not that it was a convenience center, but it really functioned like one. But we said that Tall Oaks really is not categorically a convenience center, and it is still listed as a village center. It just functions as a convenience center.
Wasn't the idea to take off just 0.25 FAR commercial and leave out and without the residential? Because that's in the text. You don't have to say it here. I thought that's where we had ended up before.
Okay, so we're going to delete. So it's just without.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just delete that. Does that work, Bill?
I think it's fine either way, but I mean, that's, yeah.
Okay.
I did note, and I think on the village centers, Lake Ann is 50 dwellings per acre.
Mhm.
And then I don't know what the FAR for Lake Ann, if it's more than 0.25 or not.
Maybe we
And-
should clarify that somehow, that Lake Ann is different. We talked
And I-
about this.
Right, and I don't know if it's appropriate to put the 20 DUs here, because when you, later on, you need a plan amendment to do 20, so it seems a little, well, I guess that's the non-residential portion of the village center, so maybe it's fine.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
But maybe a note about Lake Ann, would that help, Bill?
Yeah, because I will say, and I have to look at it again, some of the village center areas, the residential may be above 20. They're not planning for redevelopment, but I know some of the existing areas outside have high density in the development plan. I don't know what they're developed as.
You want to put that note in here, something about, this is supposed to be only on the,
This is the non-residential
Non-resident.
portion.
yeah, do you want to put that in there? We're getting a lot of notes, but
Yeah.
I guess
you're
we
right,
can
yeah.
do it.
Well,
So it would be.
so we want to take out the residential less than 20 DUs per acre.
No,
in
I
terms
wouldn't
of-
do that.
We want to mention Lake Ann then? And
Ye-
say this is exclusive of Lake Ann, which is
Yes,
50?
yes, but you want to say this is 20 units per acre only on the non-residential.
But that's not the way you have the plan written. The way I understand the plan, again, excluding Lake Ann, is all the village centers, non-residential, do not have residential as part of the plan. They need to do a plan amendment to
Right.
get residential, and then
Right.
you've capped how they do a plan amendment. So I
Yeah,
personally think it's, you don't put the 20 DUs per acre here because I think it's misleading.
Yep.
It almost reads like that those areas have a right to have 20 DUs per acre, but later you say they don't.
what if you said C text or something instead of the 20 DUs per acre? Does that work better?
Yeah, I mean,
What do you
Or-
think, Tammy?
Yes, I think there has to be some sort of hint. I know that, we agreed that only the non-residential areas are eligible to add residential. So I think we do need to say see text.
Yeah, so parentheses C text for the residential after space. Yeah,
Residential options?
Yes,
yeah.
Sure.
that
I
would
was
be-
just going to say the same exact thing.
What do you think, Bill? Does that work?
no, I think
A
that's,
little
yeah,
better.
yeah, I think that's gets you to where you need to go to understand the context of the plan.
Yeah,
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, I think that
That
takes care of that.
probably applies to all of it. You could almost put that in the description, see text. Or,
I don't know, the convenience centers, yeah, the village centers has that unique language where the other ones may not be. I don't think they have the options like the village centers do.
Uh-huh. I'm thinking the description, there may be other language about the amount of commercial, amount of residential. So if you put that in the title of the column, say see text in
In the
parentheses.
description?
Yeah, would that make sense? See text for more detail or something for detail.
Yeah, also see text.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this is meant to be a summary, not all inclusive.
right.
Read everything together.
Yeah.
So we then can remove that from here.
Well, I think you'd leave it there. I think,
So we have it up at in the header of
yeah,
the
yeah.
column and
And that-
in.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think the
Okay.
first one is, and I can't read it, but it's more see text for additional information where village center is specific to the residential option.
Yeah,
Okay, I have a request, please. Under convenience center, under the description, can we say 0.25 far of commercial space, semicolon, no residential permitted?
That was in there, and I thought I mean, I'm indifferent either way whether you have it, because I think the comment was it was detailed later. But if you want to put it in here,
I think
Yeah.
it would be clear, and anybody who's looking at a convenience center absolutely knows that now this is a tool, and as easy as it can be to read. Thank you. That's wonderful.
All right.
Yep.
Is that good with you, Bill?
Yep.
Okay. All right,
so
let's get,
under the other commercial, and we jump into this later. Maybe we can do it later. Laurel Way. I know it's not a PRC
oh yeah,
area, but
yep.
it's part
Yeah,
of the plan
Laurel
area.
Way and Stewart, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So you may just
Um,
need to add that back in there. Just as
does
a-
that need to go on the table, you thinking?
I mean, if you're calling out Bowman Green, maybe you put it Laurel. I don't know if you need to do it or not. You called
Okay.
out Bowman Green, and instead of Home Depot Center, is it? What was the other name? I forget.
Stewart,
Just Bowman. Oh, I see. Call it out there. Yeah, that would be good.
yeah,
Yeah, that would work.
You said Laurel Way, and what was the other one?
Well, it was the Home Depot area is
Yeah.
is that not Bowman Green? I
No,
forget.
no.
Uh-huh.
What, it's not called Home Depot in the plan though. There's a different plan name in it.
Could
It's
be.
called
Spirit Woods.
No.
No,
Well, let's just,
we'll come back to it. But
yeah. I just matching up the language to later as how
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
described would be my
all
suggestion.
right, let me just flag this. I'll match this table with. plan.
Yeah, because Home Depot may depart and then we want a
right.
designation.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a name for that. We might
Oh
have to.
God, I hope Home Depot doesn't depart.
No,
But
I think
they're so busy, I don't think they're.
I'm not sure we have a name for that though.
I thought there was later in the plan, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Okay, so in terms of this map, so we know that we will be, this map will be updated. Legend to match PRC land use designations. Charter Oak.
Harrison.
Medium,
Person.
medium density.
You could say due to aggregation or something if you want to.
Well,
Make-
Harrison
This is-
would be high density.
Right,
This
right.
wouldn't be high plus.
The Charter Oak is medium density. Okay, and then Harrison, you said high plus. Did you, is
Well,
that what
it's
you were
high-
talking
it's-
about 2A?
It's high density, but it's not. It was currently 50 plus. It would just be mapped at 50, the high density
Okay,
category.
got it. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now we still have the legend that we need to, so we get that health uses is not a land use category and needs to be deleted. So we suggest then amending that to read office, industrial, and institutional
That's fine.
to cover. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
That's an appropriate name for it.
Oh, I need to post that. This is progress, folks.
Again, I know this is detailed, but I think it's worth it.
Yes.
Making this clear.
Yeah, this is great. You guys keep going.
All right, so we've got that reconciled. Okay, now we've got
That's just Charter
okay,
Oak's comment.
this is
So,
reconciled.
yeah.
What is the 2A, Bill? Was that the?
That's that RA property.
Yes, okay, we thought that was the case, but we didn't know for sure. Thank you.
All right, so that's reconciled. Okay, now we're getting into the maps. This contradicts later maps that we did where 1.5 is correct here for Herndon Monroe, but the later maps show as 1.5. Roland Clark does not match later maps. 1.5 east of Wheelie does not match later map 1.5. So I just said we need to update the FARs based on Bill's observations and add a caption to these maps referring the reader to plan text as we agreed at the last staff meeting with Barbara Byron. So
let's make sure Bill is in sync with us here. So the Roland
Right.
Clark, that would be 3.55. Is that right, Bill?
Roland Clark's a unique site, and the two properties that Mark Looney represents is a 3.55.
Okay.
The property, the pond building, the plan basically says as is. The property that was API had like a 1 FAR on it in the plan, but it obviously got developed at 12 dwelling units per acre. and the property to the west had a 3.05 in the previous plan, and that obviously got developed at, I think, 20 dwellings per acre or less. So, you know, that's a little bit my concern in the language is the 3.55 is not the entirety of that site. It's just a portion of it.
Right.
And it's really, honestly, it gets back to some, you know, historically, that site, those two properties, again, that Mark Looney represents, the one that has a multifamily building on it and the one that has the office that has potential to redevelop, had an approved site plan at a 3.55 FAR of office and retail. That's the only reason the plan kept that density there. Because when you look at it, there's really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for that area to have that high of
Right.
intensity. It's so far from metro. It's inconsistent what's around it. It realistically would have had a 1.5 except for that entitlement.
Why don't we put an asterisk next to that 1.5 and some note at the bottom here that says see text or something?
Yeah, I mean,
Would that be the way to handle that?
it's yeah, because the Roland Clark area, when if you put a 3.55, I just don't want to get the false impression that's the entirety of that area, because it's not. It's just two parcels.
So why don't we do that? Just put a asterisk after the 1.5 on the bottom, and then some note that would say see text, and then that text would explain all of this. Would that make sense? Lynn, do you like that?
Yeah. So this is not allowing me to actually draw on the maps that I can make the note to myself. So I'm just going to put a comment in here. I need to post that. Sorry.
And we may need to change the text too. I don't know I don't remember what we've said in the text.
And the other point is that the 3.55 for the two Looney parcels, that came into P&Z as a combined issue that the two parcels would be linked so that it would be 75-25, and Looney promised that the 25 non-residential would be completely on that second office building parcel, and now he's trying to get out of that. So that has to be understood somehow. I don't know whether we put it in the text.
All the more reason to put an asterisk there and say
yes.
Text.
So yeah. I know before they filed, I don't know if it's before they filed the application on that site, they did propose essentially an all residential project or close to it.
Right.
But the zoning of PRC would not allow it. And the PRC zoning only allows up to 50 dwellings per acre. And basically what they have approved out there, it maximizes their what's allowed in the PRC district. So they can't add additional residential, regardless of the comp plan, unless they zone out of the PRC. Now, the plan right now, from what's there today with the multifamily and the small office building, is about an 80-20 just for those two sites. And they did retain under their proffers and a plan to add more non-residential to the site. They'd have to come back into a PRC plan and do so. But my understanding, what he wants to do now is essentially double the amount of residential out there and remove that office building and maybe put some sort of rec facility or public rec facility out there instead. I think that's fundamentally a different plan language. Maybe it's appropriate, maybe it's not. But, you know, my recommendation on that would be let them go through a separate plan process after, as opposed to tying it into this one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this case, wouldn't it, the 1.5 would be the rule? And then you would have 75-25 on top of that. So if they want to come in under that, well, then they could do it, right?
Well, let's go back to let's go to the site-specific language. We'll talk about more.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Because we look at the language that they're proposing, which is a little bit different than current, but
there's a couple more to fix. So the east
a couple more of these that we need to fix in here.
Yep. So
I think they're
really. So we've got this 1.55 at Roland Clark.
Yeah, with an asterisk. And
asterisk will go there. Yep.
East of Wheelie, north of Sunset Hills. That should be 1.0 instead of 1.5. Isn't that right, Bill?
So it's actually, I mean, look at the text again. I think what is in
North of Sunset Hills, Lynn.
Right.
transit station area, I believe that's a 1.5 on part of that area, and then a 1.0 on another part. I need to relook at my notes, but
Oh, this is the Taco Pup area.
Yeah.
It's no more Pizza Hut. It's Pupatella Pizza, so it's
Yes.
Taco Pup.
But
Yeah.
I think that area retains 1.5, but when you go on the other side of that, I think there's language in the plan that says a 1 FAR on the east side of that road, if I remember correctly. I don't have my notes in front of me, but
All right, well, let's come back to that then.
Yeah, okay.
And then we've got one more at, where was that? Oh, at the town center. Are there two different categories in the area south of the toll road? I thought there were two instead of one.
we can look at the plan language, and I think you changed it, but when I looked at it earlier today, the plan for the entirety transit station mix area is 2 to 3.
It is?
That's what we've got.
I don't know. I don't recall offhand how the development on the south got developed versus the north. If they developed less than a 3, I don't recall offhand. I didn't look at that to know if it's appropriate to modify it, but the current language is the 2 to 3.
Yeah. So if we want to do that, we have to change the text, because I think the text has two categories there.
So later
Yes.
later in the maps, you define 2 categories. The text leaves it as 1, but it changed it to 1.5 to 3, if I remember correctly. But we can, again, we'll look there, but the
I
maps
think
did
we were
change.
probably just talking about this whole area, so we
Yes.
said 1.5 to 3.
And then it has two subsets underneath that.
Right.
What the text has. So I
Yeah,
guess we need to come back and revisit that.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we just go back to the old plan, whatever that says. Is that what you think, Bill? Is that?
Well, that was my comment, more so that, the plan says this today, and I think largely the intent was not to change the potential of the plan. And that was one of the places I noted that was different in the current plan.
Well, maybe we should check that.
Yeah, we will. Okay, so I'm going to make a note.
So it's those two areas we need to check.
I would like to say something that in the purple area of
Yeah.
Town Center South,
Yeah.
that has 2 to 3 right now, when P&Z, that came through P&Z, that purple area or magenta or whatever you want to call it, definitely was separated into 2 different densities.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
3 was north and 1.5 to 2, I think, was south, was the Wegmans area. So I don't know,
Well, I mean,
I
it's obviously
remember
2
that from the
separate
discussion in
applications,
P&Z.
but I don't think it's, well, we can pull up the plan, but
Yeah.
I don't believe it's 2 separate designations in the plan currently. Definitely 2
Yeah,
separate applications, or 3 separate applications out there.
Oh, there's going to
Or
be
more.
more.
Yeah.
Let's check.
Yeah.
Let's check the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what you
just
want to
made a
talk.
note here, John, for us to double check plan language and ensure the map reflects that appropriately.
Yeah.
All right.
You can see the value of the map, though, I think, with this, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The
So I'm just going to
area-
bold this as an action. All right.
The area that had the smaller, the lower density was just north of Sunrise Valley. It wasn't up toward the metro.
You mean south of Sunrise Valley? The
No,
lower density was south.
north of Sunrise Valley.
Okay. I think we're going to be, I'm looking at the clock and we've got 15 minutes left. So, I think that no matter how much progress we make today, we're going to have to schedule another meeting with staff on this, but I think we're making great progress.
Yeah, and I think what we just did will inform the text, and so we'll be able to move faster. I think.
May we move on? Are we?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Lynn, keep going.
Yes.
I've got to drop off, but let me know how I can help. But you guys are doing great. Just keep going.
Thank you, Walter. Appreciate it.
Did we get the densities right on the industrial areas? I noticed east of Wheelie is 0.5, and then I believe it's west in the Herndon area, we have 0.7. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely that is. That's the current plan. There might be some of these areas, Reston East has some options, obviously, and that's where you have the asterisk about looking at the plan, because some of those redevelopment options are like a 1 FAR for different uses. And there's some convoluted history that may entitle them to a higher FAR than 0.5 by right, but from a plan standpoint, that matches the plan today.
Okay. How about the area east of Wheelie and south of Sunset Hills? Do we have that right? Because that's a confusing area.
Where are we at now? East
It's
of Wheelie?
1.5.
Really?
Wheelie, east of Wheelie, south of Sunset Hills.
Oh, here's Sunset.
Midline.
Brown.
Yeah, no, that's correct. There is a
Okay.
distinction between those two areas. We'll have to look at, quite frankly, the area directly to the east of that, of amending the map too, because that's the site that you call out later about adding a 1 FAR potential for residential on amending the map or not. Something should be considered, as well as the 11111 project that has a similar FAR. May need to be amended too on that area.
This whole map, the whole map needs a asterisk or something that says see text for additional detail.
Well, that's what we agreed that we would do
Yeah.
when we spoke with Barbara, that we're going to refer folks to for detail, to refer them to the plan text. Yes.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Good.
All right. Sorry. Let's
All
move
right.
on.
Moving right along. Okay. So this gets into, we are now getting into the land use categories for the TSAs. All right. So task force changed the name for this area. Name should be corrected along with the map. So this is Town Center North mixed use. And I was
Did you recall it Central Green? Reston Central Green. I thought it was the new name. Because actually, there's another area where we say Town Center North mixed use. That's not this Town Center North mixed use. That's because we created different categories. So I thought that
it's Reston Town Center North, right? Okay, yeah.
So, but the Town Center North mixed use is the ANOVA project. That's the only area that plan language refers to or designates. But I thought later in the plan you changed that to Reston Central Green or something to our Civic Center. I forget the name.
Civic Square.
Civic Square.
Yeah, you're right. We did.
I think that's good. That adds clarity. I think we should fix it.
So we should change this to Town Center Civic Green.
Town Center North, Civic Square, I guess is that Gary back there talking? Does that work, Gary? Town Center North.
Yes.
Civic Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the name is, just as long as they match, we'll have to adjust the maps to reflect the name change.
Actually, Reston Town Center North, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, these are all Reston Town Center, but we'll have to change all of these from Town Center. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Just leave it. Just leave it. It's okay.
Okay. All right.
Good catch. Good catch.
All right. For this, okay, so we're Bill notes office and industrial. These areas are planned for office uses, including flex space industrial.
Well, we ought to match the legend here in this one, right? Should be office, industrial, and what do we say, institutional?
Yes.
These areas are planned for office, industrial, and institutional uses. Period.
So this again will be another map change we'll have to make, because right now there's just office areas and there's one industrial area.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the intent is to map all those the same. So the one industrial area is over what is it, off of Sunset or Sunrise?
It's everything east of Wheelie's TOD.
Well, they're currently mapped office, but there's only one area currently mapped industrial. So we'll match the colors together. So they won't be an industrial area by itself.
That match up with the zoning, I guess.
That industrial area, it's one of the data center was recently improved on. That's the only area that's mapped as industrial.
Okay.
Okay, so so what I did is I just said these areas are planned for office uses, including research and development uses, industrial and institutional space.
So the second sentence, is that okay?
Supporting retail and service uses such as hotels and restaurants are also encouraged in these areas. Now,
Lynn, when you get a break.
Sorry, I heard Tammy say something and then I heard Dennis's voice, but I can't hear you when you're both talking at the same time. So Dennis, Tammy, you go first.
Are we encouraging more hotels? We have 9 already.
No.
You could take hotels out if you want.
Yes.
Yeah, I think,
please.
I think we've overdone hotels.
I would note from a zoning perspective, hotels in an industrial zone area actually requires a special exception. And restaurants are also problematic in those industrial areas. So you can do kind of as accessory uses, but if you're trying to do hotel or restaurant, you're doing a special exception or rezoning. So that language may not be appropriate.
Yeah, I agree.
Why don't we just say supporting retail and service uses are also encouraged? And just
yes,
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great work, Lynn.
We're getting there. Okay, so this one we'll say is reconciled, right?
There are also schools in those areas.
That would fall under the institutional.
Okay, thank you.
Am I up?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, of course, the moment I went to go get a cup of coffee is the moment you hit the area that I'm most interested in, which is Town Center North Civic Square.
Okay.
So forgive me if you've covered it, but I'm surprised to see residential and affordable and workforce housing in there, since our plan, our discussions, our votes, our everything was to keep the Civic Square area for actual civic uses.
Right.
There is massive development all around that area, including residential and workforce housing and whatever. And to take away from the purpose of the Civic Square is something I think we want to not do.
Could the text be improved? I mean, this includes the Innova parcel, doesn't it?
It does.
Not the Civic Square area. That's the non-Innova part.
That's what I thought too.
Am I not wrong? Did you not include the entire, do you name
Yeah,
the
I think
entire
we did.
Innova and
We did,
county
we
portion
did.
at
We
Civic
included
Square?
the-
We divided it out and we renamed the county-owned property as the Civic Square, which was being put for civic uses. And all of the density goes to the Innova side, which is massive. But that's the price you pay, much like you have density that goes around major parks in every city in the world.
I think the answer is to put another bullet in there, Town Center North, as Bill had said previously. No, just on top of, above Civic Square, put Town Center North. No, don't take, well, okay.
So I think you want 2 areas, the Town Center North, which is the Innova
Correct.
side, and the
Right.
Town Center Civic Square, which is the county side.
Right.
The Town Center North mixed use area.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's,
In the title, we didn't distinguish. We
yes.
Yeah, I don't think we did. And there's residential in both.
Right.
Well, at the moment, there's the Emery Rucker and the
Which is not
Association of
residential,
Transitional
that's
Housing, but that's the
institutional.
only residential in the civic area that I'm aware of.
Well, you have the 30 units of existing affordable housing.
Yeah, which was never considered part of Town Center North until recently, i.e. during all of our discussions.
So
Yeah.
Dennis, we wanted to call this new area what? Town Center North?
Mixed area, mixed use area.
We'll have to change the text to do that. It's okay, but
Yes, that's where we do change the text and get the residential up into this new one.
Yeah, and I'd love to see some restaurants and other retail in that area.
That's why it's mixed use.
Well, can I ask the question, because I'm not sure I understood this, is the desire not to see affordable housing in the county side of the Civic Square?
Other
What's
than
existing?
Emery Rucker, there is no
Well-
room for any residential.
Well, you have the
So-
existing 30 units though. You
Well,
have
again,
existing-
besides existing, so the task force is
Right.
saying affordable housing is appropriate in Reston, except for the
all-
area the county owns.
It's all civic in the county owned, and Inova will have affordable housing
I-
Nova's going to have 12% affordable. Let's not assume.
or.
Yeah.
That's
They're gonna do a whole
120
lot.
units.
I think we better change the text before we start changing the legend here. I mean, we're gonna have to change the legend too, but we need to get the text right and then change the legend to match
The
that.
text is all written. The only issue is the title. If we want to call it Civic Square on the county-owned side, then we need to name something for the Inova side. We just.
Well, that's what Lynn has just done.
Right, Lynn, I think we need to make a note here because we're gonna have to change it here and below, and maybe we make a note and we come back with the revisions.
Yeah.
It's gonna take longer than we have in
But
this meeting.
Right.
a lot of this confusion is because the Block 9, look, I've been dealing with this area for well over 10 years, and Block 9 was never considered part of Reston Town Center North, but now apparently it is. Okay, fine, but then we have to adjust accordingly. But
Right.
but Block 9 was never considered part of Town Center North.
Dennis, we did write it in here as part of it.
Yeah, and you did put residential in there more than the 30 units. You didn't say how many units. It just says
Right.
residential. Let's just look at that text to make sure we've got it
Let's
right.
reconcile this later. at the
Yeah, we'll
committee, and
reconcile it
discuss
later.
it with staff.
Okay, that's been reconciled. Anything else, Dennis, to that?
That's enough.
Here? All right. Okay. Now, here we're getting into the residential calculations. I don't know, Bill, you did not flag this, but I did see that Clara was on, and
Yeah,
I know we've got 2 minutes left. I don't know if this is something we want to tackle now that we only have 2 minutes left.
Why don't you tell Clara where because you were proposing to add some text, and I think Jennifer had some text that I think has been flying around in the email. I think all of that is good language. And that's the problem with this chart, is explaining what it is exactly. So
Yeah, so what we had met with Chamber Monday. This was John Carter and Gary and I. And we had agreed that that the statement here that the numbers provide the analytic tool necessary to calculate the infrastructure, So we'll bold this, but so
Jennifer's gonna have some additional words to add to that.
right.
yeah, Jennifer had a good suggestion. I thought. I don't know if Jennifer's on this call, but
She
I
is.
thought it was pretty good.
You finished writing that, right, Jennifer, you and Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to read it?
Yes,
I think we
please.
sent it to.
I
oh,
can I
thought-
can pull it up. I think I
Yeah, I
added
was
it
gonna
to the
say.
dashboard,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So this this language here.
The point is that this is not a cap. We shouldn't be confusing this as a cap.
So it says this chart is an estimate of the population outcome based on assuming a 20% reduction in the future built environment planned for Area 3. So that's the haircut.
Yeah.
The actual density caps can be found at the beginning of the parcel or areas stated at the beginning of each section of this chapter.
I don't know if caps is quite the word. The actual density recommendations can be found at the beginning.
I think it needs to be stronger than just recommendations.
Yeah, what do you think? I rely on your words.
Maximums.
What do you think, Bill?
I'm not Bill, but I'll say planned maximum or planned maximum
Density.
That's pretty good.
Right, because aren't you trying to get to, individual areas talk about 2 to 3 FAR, that's the
Yes.
maximums.
Yes.
That's what you're
yes,
saying, yeah,
Yes.
versus it's not a cap,
Okay.
it's
Right.
the plan has a potential, and that when you look at that potential individually, they add up to these numbers.
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Clara. Thank you, Bill.
And
So
actually,
does
you
this
might,
read right now then, the actual density maximums can be found at the beginning?
I would add maximums, density maximums and mix of land uses. So it's both.
Yes, excellent.
Because there's this issue is you could go above the minimum
Right.
on residential if you go low on the commercial, and that would change
Good.
the chart.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's good. I think that's good.
Is this reconciled then?
Yeah, I don't know if I would use area 3 because area 3 is a much larger area than this plan area. I mean, area
Yeah.
3 is there's a big planning area that we're just talking about the Reston.
Yeah, can't you just say Reston?
We're just
Or
really
Reston.
looking at this one area.
Plan for Reston.
And is that going to include the Herndon Monroe
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
It's everything.
and the orphans?
The orphans.
So now,
Okay,
what
good.
do you think, Clara? Does that work for you?
I think, except I don't understand of the population outcome. Like, I think that phrase, I'm not sure what's being communicated there. But other than that, I have to think about it some more. But on the first look at it, that
Do you need that word
How about-
outcome?
Yeah,
So
estimate.
the chamber folks were afraid that staff would take a look at these charts, and once you got to these population numbers, you would stop, right? You'd be like, nope, no more, we're all done.
Yeah. Well,
And so that was their concern, is that these population numbers were the cap.
so did we say that somewhere where these are not
It's
caps?
not the-
I thought we said that somewhere, but maybe not.
But when you had the wording, I'm looking for it now, that, I guess it was, Mike Jennings sent, that I
Yeah,
thought was
that's-
on your comment.
That's here. That is ad length. So his verbiage was these numbers are not intended to be used as or to represent a
Yes, that's
top
it.
limit or cap on the
Right.
total number of dwelling units that can be approved and delivered within Reston.
That's it.
And
So we
then
just had that.
Jennifer's would be added to that to show where it really is, a control, which is in the land base.
Right.
So you need both of those things in
How
here.
about these chart numbers? So that you're very specific about, because this does sound like there's no cap or there's no limit.
Well, you're right. It's talking about the chart. It's talking about the 110 to 120.
I think because the chart is describing dwelling units. It
But if
isn't.
you down at the bottom, Clara, it has 110 to 120. And that's what we focused on.
Yeah, it's the note that the chamber folks are concerned about.
The note is below the chart. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
because the current, remember when we circulated in the spring our slide deck to the public, we were using 157, wasn't it? That the number?
Yeah, well, yeah, somebody came up
And-
with it, not us.
Right.
We
And
didn't-
now they're thinking we're reducing their density because we came up with 110 to 120.
Yeah.
John has presented this a bunch of times, but some people were struggling with it and they just want to make sure it's understood that,
Not a cap.
fill up everything, you would be at, a much higher number. It wouldn't be 158 to 128, but it would be a number.
Okay, I don't think we need to argue the details. I
Yes.
just want to make sure
Right.
that we've got text here
Right.
that reflects accurately what the intent of the calculations are to serve. And then before I do that, I want to acknowledge that it is 6 minutes after 1. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I don't know if y'all can keep going. I certainly can.
I can.
Bill, are you able to go
Yeah,
another 30 minutes or so?
Yeah, I can skip it. I have a meeting after, but I can skip it.
I hope
I
you
think,
like this meeting better than the one you're skipping.
It's a legislative update. I'll get the information later.
Okay, and Clara, are
I-
you able to?
Yeah, if
Go
Bill's
another
skipping
30
it, if
minutes?
Bill's skipping it, then I can skip it too.
Okay.
but Lynn, you need to add that sentence about this is not a cap.
She's
That's what I
got it.
did. It's here.
Okay,
It's
but-
there.
But
Okay.
may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
We don't need top limit or cap. Just get rid of top limit or. Is not to be used as a cap. Or top limit, but not both. That's redundant.
Yes.
The word
But it
used,
says the numbers, and
the
the
word
numbers
used-
in the chart are what we're planning. It's the note below the chart.
yeah.
So the numbers are not intended to be used as a top limit on the total number of dwelling units that can be approved and delivered within Reston, period. The
Okay,
numbers
and you
also provide a method.
Okay, but you may also say the numbers and note.
Right,
That's clear.
yes.
But why are the dwelling units not the cap?
Because it's an
We went
estimate.
parcel, we went parcel
An
by
estimate.
parcel.
But it still has the 20% haircut, right? Or no, it doesn't.
In the land base, there is no 20%. This is just an estimate for the overall use of the schools or transportation, those things, and to have a general information from the people in Reston.
And I
But
would,
that's just the note. That's only the note includes the haircut. So the chart itself is the exact number.
Well, you have to be careful about the word exact because
Yeah.
it's there are parcels there, and the examples of this would be Oracle, Microsoft, Leidos, which
Bechtel.
Bechtel. We're not assuming those are going to be redeveloped. If they did redevelop, then you would have less commercial and a little bit more residential on them because they're 75-25 or 50-50. So
can I make
it is the text that's going to tell you what the FARs and the mix are required.
Lynn, can you put on the title of this thing we're working on, residential estimated calculations or calculation
Yes, that would,
estimates?
yeah,
Residential calculation estimates
yeah.
above
Or
it,
estimated residential calculations.
whatever,
Yeah.
just get estimated in there.
I think that's good, Tammy.
And the same with non-residential.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Now we're getting into, this is the land use design. Okay. We're into the design for the transit station areas. All right. So we're going to need to change, I guess, the north. So we'll fix this town center north mixed use
Yes.
sub-district when we figure out what that verbiage will be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, Bill, good catch. Deleting and it's supposed to be and. So that was a great catch. Thank you. Here we've got the note on the FARs here.
Yeah.
Okay, and we will be putting captions, as we mentioned, on each of those maps to refer the reader to the text. Bill says general recommendation of adding range of 1 to 1.5 for residential mix if earned density keeps low at 50% if not defined. So I just said done. So that's a text edit that we made. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. You're good. We know it.
Is that the area that has both? It has 1.0 when we go east and 1.5 if you go west of it. Is that what that is?
This is transit station east of Wheelie. I can go back.
Residential mixed use. I think that's what we were talking about with Bill. It has two densities.
This is the south of Sunset Hills.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so I don't need to split. Okay. All right.
Can I just ask a quick question there? I mean, earned density, it's just one parcel that earned density would have a possibility of applying to, right?
It's actually more than one parcel.
More than one would still be up for.
Well, it's more than one, Michelle, because that particular project is an aggregate of about 5 different little parcels.
Yeah. And
So that's
yeah.
You're right. It's one area, but it's a whole. It's an aggregation. We're talking about the Lofts 2 area.
Right, but my issue with that would be earned density may not apply to them as if they've already gotten their application in, right?
They don't have their application in yet. I mean, that it's swirling out there, but I don't think that's been accepted yet. Is that your concern that it would have been accepted? And
yeah, if it's accepted before this is, before this is finalized, earned density may not.
Oh,
apply.
it'll definitely be in before this is finalized.
So
it shouldn't be
Yeah.
accepted because it's not recommended for residential in today's plan.
in general, I mean, someone could submit a rezoning application regardless of what the plan says, but staff would review it against the current plan. So obviously it doesn't make sense to review it against a plan that doesn't support residential. So typically we would defer that type of request. So in general, what we do is if we have an application submitted before the plan changes, there's no grandfathering in, like the zoning ordinance grandfathers applications in process. What we generally would do is look at it and say, all right, well, the plan got changed. You should address the new plan. There may be a case-by-case review on a situation. An application might have been in the process and they're almost ready to go to the board for approval and the plan changes and saying, all right, you're generally in accordance with the plan, but there's some new guidance. It becomes, is it appropriate to ask them to modify that application based upon new guidance that only just came into play? That's a case-by-case review on applications in process. I go back to Town Center. I think it was like parcel 4 or 5. Those high-rise residential got developed years ago. Those applications were in process before the 2014 plan amendment, and even though they didn't get any additional intensity or use then under the plan, we did apply a lot of the new criteria under the 2014 plan to the site, particularly workforce dwelling units, some design criteria, but we also worked with them and looked at some of the specifics related to that 2015 plan related to stormwater and said, all right, your proposal may not be completely consistent with the new plan, but it's acceptable. So there has to be some, a little bit give and take on these applications that are significantly through the process, ready to be done, and all of a sudden they have a new plan.
But in this case,
is this just subjective, or is there written guidance on this? I just want to make sure.
Well,
it's both reassuring to hear this now, but then also, what do we have that's written in stone?
Again, there's nothing that says that my application was submitted before this plan amendment. I'm not subject to the plan amendment. There's no grandfathering of comprehensive plans. So zoning ordinance often has a grandfathering clause that says if you have an application in process, you're under the old requirements for a given period of time. That doesn't happen with comp plan amendments. it becomes a case-by-case review, and it's going to be, the planning commissioner, the board member, staff to decide, it's appropriate to apply all these new criteria, or in a specific case, maybe some of them don't apply.
But in this case, wouldn't it be a little different since the old plan has industrial? You wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, and that
residential.
case, you're 100% correct, John, because
So-
you want to look at the old plan and say, well, I would say in this case, I would apply the entirety of the plan, because
Yes.
under the old plan, you got no residential use. So
Yeah.
you're using the new plan to get to residential. So you have to take
Yeah.
it all. It's
Yeah.
the unique situation where the new plan doesn't get you anything additional, and you're 90% through the process. And I don't know if we have any of those scenarios out here. I'm not reviewing applications anymore. So I don't know if there's an application that
Campus Comstock Valley, Wheelie South.
right.
Could
That
be
would
one.
be the biggest one right now.
Yeah, that's an example.
And it could be a situation, quite frankly, that, maybe the answer is, this has been going on long enough, it's been public enough, they should know what's expected of them. If they want to continue with an application, they should continue with that application, knowing new stuff is going to come into play. And they should adjust as necessary. It's going to be incumbent, I go back, plans and recommendations, they're not ordinance. I
Right.
know, and it becomes on review at the time it comes to planning commission or board is, do you think they met the requirements or not, or recommendations or not?
I think for this area, we're okay. Comstock maybe something else, but in this case, if they want to come in under the old plan, it's industrial.
Right. Yeah. And
If
they don't
you
have an
wanna come
option.
Under the new plan, it's the new plan.
And when you,
Okay, so the question on the table is this east of Wheelie Avenue Transit Station residential mixed use, TOD. We have 1.0 FAR. Bill aptly points out this is down planning, that current is 1.5. So I'm going to defer to Bill's knowledge and change this to 1.5.
But hold on, there's two areas. I think that's what Bill was saying. There is a 1.5 area and there's a 1.0 area. Am I right,
We
Bill?
do 1.0 to 1.5.
That's what I
well,
was
I
thinking.
think no, I think 1.5, or its residential mix, is 1.5. Later in the plan, there's the office designation, which has a 1 FAR as a potential.
Yeah. So wouldn't it be 1 to 1.5?
That's fine, but
Now the text has to explain that.
right. Well, my recommendation in general is all residential mix would be 1 to 1.5.
Except
So
for
what are you saying, Bill?
I
You're
think,
saying-
well, as you're proposing here, I believe matches the current plan.
Okay.
So 1.0 to 1.5 FAR, 7525 is accurate. So this is reconciled.
And we have to change the map. Or be sure
Yeah.
the map goes with this.
Yes. And the issue here is if you're pretty far west in this area, you maybe get 1.5. If you're pretty far east of this, then you get 1.0. Isn't that what we're trying to do or not? Or you just want to put the 1.5, 1 to 1.5 just as a range for the whole thing?
I think the intent, my understanding was the intent was a range for the whole thing. So,
Okay, all right.
I mean, realistically,
So
you're
is
not talking that much of a distinction of
Right,
square footage, because it's a
that's
relatively
right.
small area.
That's right. And
Okay,
that-
so we
that-
agree with this change. So we're reconciled, and we'll ensure the map is changed appropriately.
Perfect.
That will give the planners the opportunity to adjust that as they see appropriate, and the community. So it could be 1.0 on the east and 1.5, depending on how the review process ends up.
Okay, I'm just doing another time check. We've got 10 minutes left. At Isaac Newton Square, Bill makes a note, does not match text of 9010. So
If you look at the fourth sentence, it's, Isaac Newton's, it's 90% is residential versus 75.
Is that correct?
90% new development.
Yeah, Bill, that's only 75. The new development that got approved is only 75% of Isaac Newton Square, if that. There's the southwestern corner of that. Those owners did not aggregate with the owner of the rest
No,
of it.
I understand, but I think this has changed. Look at the current plan. If I remember correctly, the current plan basically says 90% of Isaac Newton Square would be residential. It's not the 75-25 mix. So when you look at it, and if I'm wrong, but I think, this is, to me, is a little bit changed. The 75% here, I think, is different than the plan text. So I don't know this completely captures it. I understand your point, Tammy. Not
Well,
everyone came in, and other ones hopefully will, but I think it's
don't agree
90-10.
I don't agree with the 90-10, Bill, because the two office buildings fronting on Wheelie are staying, plus the existing Isaac Newton people in the 3/4 that got their plan approved. There's office there too. There's non-residential there. So when you combine the two big buildings and the non-residential and the soccer field, that you're not going to get 90% of that, I don't think, to be residential.
Let's
And that's
go back
only
and see.
3/4 of the plan.
Why don't we go back and see what the plan says? If Bill's right, it's 90-10.
Here it is. I just got it pulled up.
And then check it against the zoning case. They're all
This is
pretty
the current
recent.
plan. This is the current plan text on the screen here
Mhm.
for Isaac Newton. So it says, with the exception of Isaac Newton Square area, Isaac Newton, Bill's right. Bounded, this is the text that we pulled in. So this is the exact same text that we've got in.
Yeah, let's check that against the zoning case. That's Tammy's issue is
Yeah.
what's approved or not.
Well, the zoning case is only, as you mentioned, half of the site.
Yeah.
The other half that's not in certainly should and hopefully does come in for redevelopment to match what's in today and kind of have that similar mix. So, my only point was, I always read this as 90% residential versus 75-25. Maybe I read it differently, but when you look at the plan, the task force, it reemphasized 75-20 at the beginning, where this, I don't think, says the same. So we don't have to reconcile now. Just look at it a little closer. I mean,
Okay.
minor.
But the text that we have matches the existing
Yeah, we
plan.
pulled the exact same text over.
Yeah.
It's just the 75% right above Isaac Newton Square was my comment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we need to, John, we need to go back and look at the application.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So not the original plan text. We have to refer to.
Well, both. We need to put them both
Yeah.
together and see
Well,
what.
we've got the original plan text in here. So.
Yeah.
Right, but the application, hopefully, the ones that did not consolidate will come in the future and redevelop also. I mean, I don't think because they didn't do it the first time, they don't do it as existing. Maybe they never will. I don't know, but
They're a feisty group, Bill. They're not very cooperative with one another.
Is that Andrew Painter? Is he the?
Well, he's the 75% or the 75% aggregation, but not the 30 landowners that have the other 25. They can't decide which way to tie their shoe.
Okay, so moving on, we've got 5 more minutes. Bill points out this combined the 3 areas with different plan text and expectations. The northern 2 lots had a plan of 3.55. The single family attached development was 3.05 on the west and 1 on the east. Suggest revising to make clear that only redevelopment expected on northern office area. So
yeah, and the pond building shouldn't redevelop either. And I don't know if I don't think that was the intent of this language. And it's not, I don't think it's the intent of the current plan either. So as long as that's clear that what you do with Roland Clark, the Looney properties, is really the question.
Should we have a sentence in there about the pond building?
Yeah, that's
Since
what
it
I was
is-
thinking.
I think you
I think
may,
so.
or
I think so. They need to be
an
protected.
existing
or-
office pond building is located. I don't remember if, I think it should be clear that it should remain as is. And realistically, they don't really, that building they don't have a lot of land area out there. They have the gas line easement, they have EQCD related to the pond. There's really no redevelopment potential unless they convert the existing building to something else. They couldn't tear down and rebuild on that site.
They could tear down and rebuild. I don't know what their density is.
Yeah, well, there's not, well, maybe, but when you look at, you have that pond there that has EQC, which they shouldn't build in, and
Yeah.
then the gas line easement, it really limits their site to make it probably difficult to rebuild. Maybe
Yeah.
not impossible,
So
but
should we add a sentence after this that's highlighted that says an existing office building, pond building is located along the Dulles Toll Road and accessed by Roland Clark pipe stream? Should we just add something, this area?
I think
is
it's-
not
Just put
redeveloped?
expected to remain.
Yeah.
Put that word.
Is it,
Existing office building is expected to remain. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Remain as is.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, plan for existing intensity and use.
I'm sorry, Bill?
We typically say plan for existing intensity and use.
This area is planned.
For the existing intensity and use. Same thing as saying it just stays as is.
A little clearer.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
And reorganization wise, I would just kind of do it in a way of try to put all the Looney property information in one little area, and the two remain, the two single family attached and the pond building in a separate area. So
Yeah,
you
separate.
have, so it's clear, here's the redevelopment potential, here's what remains the same. Because right now it kind of goes back and forth.
Okay,
agree.
got it.
I like that.
Okay, so let me just make a note here. We can work on this separately.
Reorganize. We reorganize order.
And I think the task force needs to decide what they want to do with the Roland Clark site. Is this something that you want to see redeveloped for residential, which is obviously what Mark Looney's pushing?
It's maxed out.
I
Yeah.
agree.
That is
Yeah.
not. That is
We do
not.
not want to see it.
preference.
No. Yeah.
So I think just rereading the language, and is that strong enough as is? And I think it probably is. But
What's the intensity for those two parcels? What is it, 3.55 or is it 3.0?
3.55.
the current plan is 3.55. What they have in their proffers is 3.55. What's approved and a PRC plan level is a 1.3. So they have to come back into the process to add additional non-residential to do more than the 1.3. Whether that's appropriate, will depend upon whatever application they put in. But, I know they're pushing for residential. And I think that's where the concern has been, is it appropriate to do more residential here or not?
Yeah. I think the issue is the 75-25.
Right.
Not sure what the intensity is that they get. Okay.
Yeah, and pertaining to that 25%, so we have a wide range of public uses and office uses will be allowed as part of redevelopment existing. So this is what we were talking about. So I just said that this helps to guide the non-residential uses required for both parcels. And we're saying that residential can only be the 50% of the last parcel.
Well, the total has to be 75-25.
Yeah, well, it would be.
Well,
You don't know that. You don't know.
so in general, I mean, I would probably rephrase the will be allowed for public uses, may be appropriate, or
Okay.
because it's, I mean, it may be appropriate, and I'm not saying it's not, but will be allowed is almost dictating to board you will allow public uses, and it may or may not be appropriate. I don't know. I don't know again, I'm not sure what your intent is by 50% of the the last parcel, is that when you're talking about, is that the parcel with the office building on it?
Yes,
And you're
yes,
saying
because
that building?
that's phase 2 of an agreement. And
So
the first 50% is all residential. The second half has to be half of that to get to 75-25 for the aggregate has to be 50%. But that's very confusing.
Yeah, the point is
So-
75-25 for the 2 parcels total.
Yes, exactly, John.
So
I think the 50% makes it, I don't know, we don't know that.
So I looked at the numbers yesterday based upon the multifamily building and existing office. It is basically 80-20 right now. It's like maybe 78-22 of non-residential, residential, and they preserve the option in the proffers to expand the non-residential, so it'll be more than 50-50 or more than 75-25. If the desire is to see more multifamily there and some sort of office component, that's fine. That is, I would say some of it changed, but it will be a rezoning. It cannot be done under the PRC district. They have to rezone out to the PRM or PDC.
Right.
Okay.
So I think.
Is that because of the units per acre?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So I don't know that if that's the desire, I don't know that this language really portrays that last parcel is appropriate for more residential. I don't know. Generally, I've always tried to argue about rezoning out of the PRC district, and we certainly did argue about rezoning out of the PRC district on this site originally when they asked to do it, part because of the 75-25 mix.
Well,
what's troubling here is the density.
Yes.
3.55.
If they
And I'll go back to my statement originally is the only reason it's the 3.55 because it had a non-residential site plan. So they argue about, oh, we can't maximize our density because non-residential is not appropriate. Well, if it wasn't for that non-residential approval, this would be a 1.5. And they're basically at a 1.5 today. They're at a 1.3 approved. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of sympathy for their desire to go more residential here personally, but that's not my decision.
Bingo, Bill. And the other point is if they go out of PRC, they have to have setbacks. And, in PRC, you don't have setbacks. So,
well, I mean, PDC is, again, it's flexible. PRM is flexible for setbacks. You do have maximums density where PRC doesn't. You also have to look at the issue of too about, I don't know the number wise, how much land are we pulling out of PRC and how that impacts the overall cap.
Well, not to stick them in the eye, but they promised, Looney promised when phase 2 came in, they'd have open space for all these people they put packed into phase 1.
Well, they still have to do that.
A temporary, crappy little bocce ball court.
Yeah, they still have to do that.
Really,
that's a good point. You might mention that. I mean, that you want the open space. Did we already say that? I don't know.
Well, I've got a note here that we need to go back and reorganize this section anyway. So I think we can do a rewrite or add what's missing. I just want to do a time check. It's 1:34. So we're 4 minutes over the 30 minutes that we've been granted. So I don't know if Bill and Clara can continue or.
I keep thinking we've done the difficult ones, but
then a new one comes up. We still have Association Drive, and Bill points out that part of Association Drive development is in transit station mixed use.
That's right.
So, can I ask before we move on from that with the just really quick with Roland Clark and the public uses? I think the language that was finally or decided was something about being appropriate. Is there anything that could be more definitive than just appropriate?
Well, we said a wide range of public uses and office uses will be allowed as part of the redevelopment of the existing office building to provide the required 25% non-residential uses required for both parcels.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I mean, my suggestion was just instead it will be allowed, it may be appropriate because again.
I think that's good.
But is maybe appropriate, I mean, is there anything to say would be encouraged? Instead of just, oh, it
You
may be
could-
appropriate.
You could do both. It may be appropriate and encourage,
And will be encouraged.
Yeah.
Dennis, are you on?
So are you trying to get to the public park issue that Looney is proposing? I'm not sure what you're trying to encourage
Well,
here.
No, it's not the outside space. It's the inside space.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
still
it's the
have to have
indoor
the outside.
space.
You still have to have the outside space.
Okay, so right now it reads a wide range of public uses and office uses may be appropriate as part of the redevelopment of the existing office building.
How about may be appropriate and will be encouraged or are encouraged?
Well, if you
Do we even
instead
have
of
to
maybe
include the
appropriate, maybe
appropriate
it
language?
is encouraged.
Yeah, there we
Instead
go.
of is encouraged instead of, okay,
So yeah, is
there you
encouraged.
go. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
It should be are encouraged, right?
Oh, you're right. Thank you, Professor English.
Remember, I'm not an English major.
Yeah, he keeps telling us that. You kill me.
All right.
The notion here is that to make it clear that public uses could be included as non-residential. That's the only notion here.
I think if I remember correctly, the current text excludes public uses, but the proposed text includes public uses as part of the FAR.
I don't think the existing text makes a difference. It just says non-residential.
Well, the existing text in the plan excludes public uses in TOD
see.
areas from the mix
see.
and the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Where I don't know, I thought this version of the plan included them into the mixing the intensity.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, the only potential concern obviously is that a whammy, not necessarily for this site, but let's say you have a site that we want a public use on, and now they're providing land area, and they're also losing redevelopment potential by providing that land area because we're saying that public use counts as FAR. And,
yeah, this would be the case of if it was University of Virginia wanted to come here, and to encourage them, you might need to exclude them from FAR. I guess you still have an opportunity to do that despite what the plan says or doesn't say, right?
The current plan language excludes public uses from that mix for TOD areas.
Yeah.
But you have changed that to include public, not just here, but in general.
Right.
So I just think, as long as everyone's comfortable with that, I don't know the situation where that public use, it's public use would be in the TOD, but the plan language is kind of mirrors what Tyson's did, where they said if you're providing public land area for public uses, you can still do your max and have that public. So there's not a disincentive to do it. But Tyson's also has some very specific public facility language, which is not in the Reston plan. So there's there's more expectations for public uses in that plan than this one.
In this case, for this parcel, I don't think we would want to exclude the public uses from the FAR. We already have enough density in here.
Right. So I mean, maybe it's an option of the developer to include or exclude. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think? Let's take Wheelie. The other example is if a university wanted to come in there, and we know what the plan says. Could the Board of Supervisors say, well, never mind, I don't want to include the University of Virginia or name your favorite university, whatever.
Right. So,
I guess they could still do that, right?
Well,
it's just the plan wouldn't support that.
Correct. It would be, if that area Wheelie is a 3 FAR and the current plan says exclude public uses and, a public use goes in there and it becomes a 3.5, we would say that's fine because a 3 is non-public, 0.5 is public. It's still in accordance with the plan based on that nuance, where potentially what we'd be saying now is all public uses have to be considered as part of that plan maximum. Then potentially you're doing a plan amendment to exceed that. and it may be appropriate. And again, I don't have any example.
Might be.
You know, I don't know anyone's knocking down the door to put those public uses in there or can't do it within the plan guidance today. But that's just the concern that needs to be
Right.
weighed off.
I think we need to be careful on public uses because there are ones we like and ones we
Sure.
don't care quite as much. This is an example of where we definitely want we would definitely want the public uses to be included in the FAR, maybe somewhere else, depending on what the public use would be. But yeah, there's always the plan amendment process to go through. I don't think no university is offered, but yeah. So, okay, let's move on.
All right, so part of Association Drive development is in the transit station mixed use. So I think this is going to require a bit of a rewrite here. So we'll add this to our internal review, right?
Yeah.
For the land use working group. All right.
These are very good, these comments.
Okay. Yeah, these are great. So this is Reston East non-TOD district. Bill points out retention of the site-specific non-TOD maps would be helpful. And I think that we did use the non-TOD maps later on. So I was just wondering if you had noticed those, Bill. So this is like a non-TOD.
So what I was referring to, you know, the current plan has each, like this area, if you go back up, that's the TSA map, that's a TOD map, but then you have the
non-TOD.
I mean, there's more detailed maps in the current plan that are
Oh,
gone.
are there? Okay.
Yeah, so every TOD, non-TOD that's called out in the plan has a separate map that goes with it.
Okay.
And then
I'll
not
go back
only,
and
you
look
know,
for
it
those.
labels the whether it's office or industrial, but also kind of helps you zoom into the area. So I've always found them helpful. Is like, is this in my which plan area is, so I can look at the roads, I can look at the area and help me locate it. So
Perfect.
Let's put them in.
All right, so I'm going to call that reconciled.
Insert existing maps.
And insert
non-TOD maps.
Yeah, we'll have to update them a little bit related to the new plan language in terms of office, industrial, and institutional, but that's
perfect.
Fundamentally, they're the same map.
Thank you. Okay, so Michael Faraday Court section, industrial up to 0.4, to mixed use up to 1.0. You said this is zoned I, which is
I think it's
0.5.
I4 or I5. I have to double check. So 0.4 is an I3 district. I4 and I5 is 0.5. So I believe it's I4, I5. I don't have my notes with me. Yeah. So that was just my point of matching the current zoning as the expectation or the potential.
This is the one that it's an industrial zone that allows 1.0 with residential. So I don't know which one that is, whether it's.
So this is skate park, correct?
Yeah.
Skate Quest. I mean, so the 1.0 FAR would obviously be a rezoning to do that, because you wouldn't be able to do that in the industrial district.
Isn't there an option? Isn't there an option to do that?
Yeah. That would be, that's what I meant, is a rezoning. The industrial district doesn't allow it, but the rezoning to whatever PRM would. My only point is, I believe the existing industrial category is a 0.5 instead of a 0.4.
Okay.
So I'm going to defer to Bill and just change that to 0.5.
Yeah.
Do we want residential over there for this mixed use? If that has to be a re-application?
This is current plan.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so the current plan is the one FAR for redevelopment of the Skate Quest site with the retention of the skating facility. with residential as an option. Whether it's appropriate or not, but that's his current plan.
So if you look at the map, this is the area outside the yellow. Is that right? Or is
It should be outside of the yellow. Yeah, it should be non-TOD.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I've got that reconciled. We'll change that to 0.5. Lake Fairfax Business Center, non-TOD section, industrial, current plan is office. So we're just gonna change this to match the new designation of office, industrial, and institutional, and we'll have to update the body copy accordingly. So can say that's reconciled. Is that acceptable to you, Bill, that we change?
That's fine. Yeah, I mean,
Just
they'll
match
make
it.
it consistent.
Is this a repeat of what we just did? I wonder if we have this text is right.
Which text?
The one we just did.
You're talking about Skate Quest?
Yeah.
Well, this is Lake
This is Lake
Fairfax
Fairfax
Business Center, separate from Skate
Yeah.
Quest.
Yeah, but it says eastern section between the TOD and the proposed extension of South Lakes Drive and north of the Dulles Toll Road.
I'm lost. Where are you reading?
He's on the next. He's on the next one.
Oh, you're on
Yeah.
you're one down
Oh,
from
you're
us.
down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if this is correct. I thought this is the area we just did.
Now, this is the area that you wanted to replan.
This is on the other side of Sunset Hills from
Right.
the Skate Quest. So
No.
this is,
No, this is between the TOD area, which is the yellow on the map, and the extension of,
I think this is the area directly north of 11111 and east of Pulte, and that development over
Is
Reston
this
East.
Lofts 2, Bill?
Is this what?
Is it Lofts 2?
I don't
This
know.
area?
I'm not sure which one that
Uh,
is.
go up
I
to the
think
map.
it is Lofts too, Tammy.
Go up to the map. It's Skate Quest.
No, this is the Skate
No.
Quest that was the other one. This is the area that
Right.
this is new plan language. It's not currently in there. We're
This
changing.
hidden here.
No,
The-
it's not that map. The other one.
Yeah. That's
big
the
one?
west section.
No. It was the one just above this section.
Keep going down, Lynn.
Working on it, working on it.
I think this may be repeated, actually. There, that's it. So now, is this the area in the yellow or in the gray?
So it would be the area where it says Reston East on the south side of Sunset.
No, this is the north of Sunset.
No, it's the description is south of Sunset.
No,
So these are
oh,
Skate
it's
Skate
extension.
Quest is on would be the
North.
north. This is on the south. So this area here is currently planned for office, and you retain that. But what you're saying here is this is the one area where the task force wants to replan and allow residential, which currently does not have that designation. This is when we talked about last time with Supervisor Alcorn, and he was fine with
Right.
doing it during this process as opposed to having doing it as a separate plan amendment.
Yeah, this is Lofts 2.
So we said for this that we were gonna remove this. Redevelopment.
I'm not sure
you-
this belongs here. I
Wait,
think this doesn't belong in this section. And have we repeated this before?
No.
No,
You sure?
yes.
If you go up to the
But I think
TOD
that we
area,
were saying that any redevelopment would go through a plan amendment.
Well, that was my recommendation, but I believe
yeah, that's-
Supervisor Alcorn wanted it to go with this process, so I defer to him. So this, where you have the option here about a 1 FAR residential is a change to the current plan. So
Right.
I think that's the question of, is it appropriate to do now? Or is it appropriate to have them do after this plan when the supervisor opens up the plan amendment process for North County, and instead that Reston areas that went through this plan amendment still have an opportunity to do it? So I was under impression that Supervisor Alcorn was okay doing it now.
That was
But-
my understanding, but I just wonder if it goes in this section. I think it goes in the previous section. This is talking about the industrial area.
This is the industrial area,
This is currently industrial.
right?
I know, but did we
Change.
repeat the same thing in the other
No.
category? You sure? I
Positive.
think we did.
No, this is, so you're talking about this Reston East sub-district north
Yeah.
of the toll road.
Yeah,
So this is the Skate Quest. So this is the ice rink.
that's what this is, the Skate Crest.
No, this is south of that. This is south of Sunset.
Go down, you see Skate Quest further down, I think.
Go up farther, go up farther. Yes, I
So
understand.
these three, wait. Okay, these three. So the eastern section, Lake Fairfax Business Center, and the Michael Faraday Court section are all part of this Reston East sub-district north of the
Correct.
toll road. So what we are doing is we're saying this Reston East sub-district is the bigger picture. And within that, here are the parcels.
Right.
I get
So
that.
Michael
My question
Faraday-
is this a repeat of what we said earlier? Have we said it in two places? You sure?
No, because Michael Faraday Court is the, so if you take Sunset Hills Road, so the northern side of Sunset Hills is where Michael Faraday Court is. What we're talking about with lofts
Michael
2
Faraday
is
Drive.
south of Sunset Hills.
Michael
Okay,
Faraday
but what
Drive
is the
south
language
of
before
Sunset.
this? The language before this section, when we were talking about the area in the yellow, was it included there already? That's the only thing I'm wondering. Yeah, the Reston East. No, up farther.
This goes to TOD areas. The area that we're talking about is non-TOD. Plan currently for office, what the task force has said is that there should be redevelopment office for that particular site to residential as a 1 FAR that doesn't exist today. So that's new plan language that where the Michael Faraday Court Skate Quest is current plan language, as well as the rest of the stuff for Reston East, that's current plan language.
This is new.
That's all brand new.
I get the recommendation. I'm just wondering, what did we say this earlier?
I don't
And
believe
I'm
so,
not
but
sure.
No, we didn't.
I mean, we can
I'll
certainly
check to make sure. Check to make sure we haven't repeated
Yeah.
the same language. I think we have, but
Okay,
we'll just check it.
we can go back and look. Yep.
The recommendation's okay. I'm just wondering if it's in the right spot. And is it in two spots? And I think it's in two spots.
Okay, well, I'm
It's
gonna
a confusing area.
let you prove that, John.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. Okay, we are suggesting, so we are now in the Sunset Hills District, north of the Dulles Toll Road. This is non-TOD. And we're recommending that we just delete this. This district is planned for mixed
Yeah.
use up to 0.5 or office retail at a currently approved development intensities. So are you okay with that, Bill?
Is that because the two sub bullets take care of the entire area?
Yes.
Yeah, that was,
All right, that makes sense.
All right, so let me post this.
Does the Plaza America, okay, yep, okay, it says existing, yep, that's
Right.
good.
Yeah, and we did make some changes to this text, Bill, based on your observation here. So does this satisfy?
So I think the 0.5 is the residential office together. It's the existing office building that remains, as well as the proposed single-family attached. So it may be more appropriate to call it mixed use at 0.5 than residential, because they're still keeping, I believe they're still keeping the
Yeah,
office under
You're
that
right.
option.
You're right. You're right.
Oops.
Good catch.
Mixed use at 0.5. Okay.
You,
Everything else looks all right though? The office land use at 0.62 FAR or?
And you had language in there about preserving your stormwater ponds and the environmental aspect somewhere else in that. I think that was earlier, maybe.
I hope we did.
Yep, it's in there.
yeah, open space must be retained and integrated.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to call this one reconciled.
Wow.
All right. So Bill makes a point that this map is incorrect. Transit station mix south is 2 to 3 FAR in the current plan and 1.5 to 3 in our text. So we'll have to go back and look at this.
Yeah, we better check that because
Yeah.
That's what I was referring to about the adjacent to Sunrise Valley being a lower FAR in the magenta in the south.
Right.
yeah, I don't know how we came up with that if it's not in the old plan, but I don't know.
Okay, so this is an outstanding work item for us to get through. Okay. All right.
To me, it's just verifying what's in the current plan and matching it. Unless there was an intentional to revise it. I don't think it was intentional to revise it. And maybe it was, but I thought it was intentional to leave it as is.
It was presented, I think it was presented to P and Z. So we didn't certainly do anything with that.
Yep, yep.
So whatever the old plan says, that's what we'll go with. Okay.
Yeah, so the next item here, this is Bill points out that in the current plan, this
relates to the last discussion. So it's the same area, just twice.
What's that?
So these are the two same things with the map.
Oh, so
that
the
2 areas.
Yeah, that's just the map text that relates to it.
So it may not be 2 areas when we're through.
Correct.
So let me just put.
So it just needs to reconcile with the current plan.
Yeah.
My assumption is you probably went to the 1.5 because that was 50% of the 3, as opposed to the current plan, which is 2 to 3.
No, I don't. Well,
I have no
No,
idea.
what we did is we went to the whole area and we said that the lowest, so we were doing the range of the lowest is 1.5 and the highest is 3. So we just said between the 2 parcels, it's between 1.5 and 3. That's where we got it from.
Right.
Now, if the current development out there is lower than a 3, and I don't know that it is or is not, you can, I don't know if it's appropriate to adjust that or not. It may come back in for more.
Okay.
Because I know so much of that site hasn't been developed yet.
that is correct.
And they keep changing it too.
Yes.
Yeah, and they will
They
keep
change
it.
the name, I'm going to kill them.
Okay, we're making progress. Okay, we need to verify the FAR on this. Came from old plan, area between Harrison and
So,
Stratford.
and this is probably
3.1.
fine because I think I was going on my memory that it was a 3.6 FAR, but that was inclusive of affordable WDUs.
Yeah.
And generally, the plan has not been inclusive of WDUs, so the language is fine as a 3 FAR because you're definitely correct. It was 3 in the previous plan.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Okay, so this is reconciled.
Yes.
Yeah.
Post. Okay, this is not a true statement. So we suggest deleting this then.
100%. And that's in the current plan, and it shouldn't be in there either. Because the plan may not have a density max, but the PRC zoning district does.
Okay. So we agree with that. All right. Okay, so this is, okay, here we go. Maybe we should need to save this for, because we're now at 2 o'clock on the top. So why don't we start with this when we reconvene? And Bill, I'll work with, and Clara, if you're still on, I'll work with Walter's office or any of the staff that are still on, St. Clair, everyone. Thank you all so very much for your time and education. And I'll work with Walter's office to get us rescheduled.
I have a thought here.
Yes.
My thought about this is to leave it the way it is unless there's some errors.
Yeah,
Because we've got a new task force coming, and we don't want to preclude whatever it is they're going to come out of this. So
Leave it as is in terms of the current comp plan or the current task force recommendation.
current
no,
task force.
this is a new task force that they're going to create.
I understand that, but your
Yeah, the
recommendation.
The current task force, what you're looking at now, Bill, leave it as is.
Just keep it the way it is because there's going to be a new task force. And so we're just going to be changing it again. Yeah.
And
Does that make any sense, Bill?
No, I get it.
The new task force understands this wording.
Yeah, my I had obviously different language before. My recommendation's always been a little more generic on the county side than I think what's here. But maybe, but that was also prior to announcement of a new task force that's going to rewrite this section anyway. So
So I still would tendency to, unless there's a mistake here, and there may be, like the North County Government, the North County Human Resources. I don't know whether that's accurate or not.
Well, I think,
but it's all going to be changed maybe by the new task force. So
I don't know if the new task force is doing the Inova side or just doing the county side.
Just the county.
Okay. So, well, I read this as, I personally read this as combined.
Yes.
Both, and then, but I know we broke it out earlier. So how you want to resolve that? Maybe it's appropriate to break them out.
It was written as combined because, for instance, what do you say? You're going to name Inova side something different. I mean, we've got Spectrum on one side, the Civic Square that happens to include the Inova on the top of it.
Yeah, the Inova partition is brand new.
Yeah.
So it would not have been in the current plan.
If you go through the words here, it has the Inova in here. It has all the Inova in it.
I would leave it because we don't know what the new task force is going to do. You might say it's not going to cover Inova, but I don't know that we have control over what it is that they're going to cover whatever they want to cover.
Well,
but I think the language was pretty specific. That it would only apply to the publicly owned side.
I know, but you can't control the task force. They'll do whatever they want.
John, I know this task force. Okay, they didn't know it until they got it bestowed upon them. Nobody called them, but they're not going to go delving into the Inova side. But,
so
I think we should save this discussion for the next time that we meet.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that, but okay.
Yeah, I think we should leave this as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to make sure that we have this I want this reconciled. So
and I'll just say
a lot more discussion that we have.
The Nova parcel relies heavily on the civic uses because that's where they're getting the density. So you're not going to be able to segregate. The task force is not going to be able to segregate a Nova from the civic square.
So you could if you wanted to, but you'd have to be clear that the Nova side is 50 dwelling units per acre based on their land area versus 20 based on the entirety. But that would also assume, and I have no idea, that's assume they two break apart in terms of moving forward on applications too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the intent or not.
I think it's not the intent because civic uses, there's streets and all that, and all those parcels have to get together.
Well,
segregating that is very dangerous. I think.
I don't disagree.
And I don't know that even 50 is going to be enough. They might be above 50 on the Inova. So I'm pushing for keeping the language the way it is.
The language the way it is.
Not redoing it.
We don't need to go through this.
Letting the task force do their thing. So anyway, you can change it
Bill,
if you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, very good, Bill.
Appreciate it.
That was very good.
This was a great meeting, everybody.
Hopefully we can fix all those things. That
we will. We've got our work to do before we meet next. So we'll work with Walter's office to get our next meeting scheduled.
All right. Sounds
Once
good.
we get past this, I think we'll be rolling.
Oh, I love you,
I-
John. That's smiley sunshine.
Thanks,
I've only said
everybody.
that
Thanks,
3
everybody.
times. I've said that about 3 times and we always come up with something.
We'll believe it.
Thank you all so much.
Great, very good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey Siri, call John Carter. No, I said they will look together, but they were in. Lynn kept wanting to come back. I think it's done. We're set. You just need to get Lynn to not go into this. Right. Right. It's going to be looked at together, but they're not going to sit there and tell Inova you've got some other units or something. That's what I was talking about. Right. No, they're not standing alone, but it has to be developed together. But the task force isn't going to tell Inova they can, you know, they cannot have any residential or those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? Okay, all right. That's no, I'm completely aware of that. I was just talking about they're not going to tell Inova what they can develop. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, we just need to get out of Dodge with Bill. That's all I care about. So just tell them we're done. Well, I thought it was done. We left it as done. As far as I'm concerned, we're leaving it as is. I said that 7 times. You got it. That'll kill us. And Dennis, I don't know why Dennis got into they were separate. He was wrong. And no, there is not. That was the whole monster deal. Where? The 30 units? No, additional affordable says nothing about residential. Additional affordable housing may be included on block 9. Yeah. So there's no residential. Well, okay, but I meant it's only on block 9. That's 1, 3, 5, 7, and 8 do not. Oh, right. Can you just read it again, John, so you know it up one side and down the other? I don't know why Dennis got confused. It is going to be looked at together. We just need to get out of Dodge. Well, and Jennifer you know, Michelle, we're gonna screw this up, and this doesn't need to be rewritten one iota, except for the ones except the ones you and I have done on the side. Right. Okay. Oh, like that. Oh, the one on Ferngussie Road? Right. Healthplex? That's not what I'm trying to think where the Springfield Healthplex. This is on Franklin. Where on Franklin? See, there's a Healthplex right there. You mean the Springfield Metro Station? Well, there is a Healthplex already there. No. No. Yeah, no, I'm talking about, I went to this a number of times because my mother-in-law was down there. Oh, really? Wow. That's good. It is. Right. No, but I could imagine, the more we talk about this, and Michelle started talking about other things, and we just need to leave the white writing. Dennis, I couldn't believe Dennis said that. Yeah, but they're not, I mean, we've been over this 20 times, and yeah, I think you need to make sure, Lynn, we don't get into that to start, because Walter will get into it. That'll be deadly. Oh yeah, wasn't it? Right. That's why I think you gotta tackle it, man. We can't get into this in front of Walter. We'll be dead. Yeah, I thought it was a lot better than I thought it would be with Bill. I was so shocked. No. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Well, I'm just now, Walter will be in the next meeting. And if we get into, right, I kept saying that. I think we just tell Lynn, we finished with that. Yeah. And not go back. See, make sure you talk her into that. There was no, other than the dentist got confused thing, there's no difference. And you're right, the new task force will go in, they're not gonna get into Nova's. They know, Walter's told them, Nova's leaving. So, but they just the joint developments have to be in sync. You know. The task force will get in with, Nova wants to move the street 3 feet, and well, I mean, the new task force, if Nova tries to do something that's inconsistent, they will get into it, or isn't timed properly. That's what I meant. But Nova's got, and then I was surprised you said the 50 units per acre was okay. Why would we do, that's what we're trying to fight. And Nova doesn't get 50 units per acre. No. 50 units per acre is 106.8. That's what they put in their letter. And then bonus on top of that. Remember? 50 units per acre is 1,068 on their stuff. Yeah. Well, if they calculate it right, I mean, they wrote it. They know the acres. I'm assuming that they know the acres. They calculated. I think it's just too late for that. We're not going to get into it. Right. And that's the whole deal. That's what Dennis is talking about. Walter will get on and say, if we get into this, Walter will try and add residential on top of civic uses. We can't get into this next week or we're dead. So just say it's over with. We do not want to do that. We got to make some decisions. I don't care about Walter and this stuff. I mean, he's doing dumb stuff, and we're not gonna let Walter screw this up. I'm looking at the letter for the 1068. It's on here somewhere. Yes. No, this is the unit count at the existing 50 DU over the Inova land area, and that is on footnote 13. I'm finding it. Where's it? 13. Yeah, 13. They changed 940 to 1068. So they said that is the calculation at 50. We don't want to do that. God, we gave them 940 for heaven's sakes. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said, and that's why I was surprised when you say okay on 50. I was shocked. Bill said 50, and you said okay. So, because you got to talk to Lynn. We cannot get into this next time. This is what I was. The other thing is this parking reimagined. I've called the guy. He hasn't called me back. Are you available in the morning? The issue of differentiating, if you look at the thing I sent you, they have the decrease at 40 for the TOD, 30 for the TSA, and then it's like 10 after that. And we want all of Reston to be, everything outside the TOD should be the same because of the way Reston is organized. We don't want parking cut in the TSAs. 30 per. I think so. Now Bill's on this. Do you know Bill's phone number? Can we just talk to him? Let's try this Michael guy. We could do it right now. Just let me see, Michael. Well, that's the problem. The problem is that all the TSAs are being treated the same. And to make Reston different, we would have to be different than the TSAs outside of Reston. Can we make a case for why we're different? Well, let's call this guy and just tell him that we think that's wrong and see what he says. If he'll answer the phone, just a second. is one thing, the TSA is another, and then neighborhoods are another. I'll have him explain it. And what we're trying to do is have the TSA and the neighborhoods be the same. No, well, in the TOD, it's, you get reduced by 40 parking spaces. And that's for TODs in the county. And then the TSAs are 30 in the county. And we wanted to have Reston be an exception and have it, the TSA be treated like the neighborhoods. Right. Yeah, that's not the way it's written. I wish we had Bill's phone number because he's on this. Right. What are you looking at, Jim? No. I was shocked. I was. You're gonna have to take over Reston Town Center north. I'm gonna talk to Dennis and get him straightened out. But why? We don't need, we'll be dead if we were. The Reston Town Center, I can't distinguish that. Mhm. Well, okay, I'm not gonna be able to explain this well enough. So I need you, and let's try this guy. His name is Michael Davis. You talked to him before. Bill would be the best person to talk to, actually, but. All right, well, let me see if his name is Michael Davis. I'm gonna see if we can add him to this call. This will see what I can do. Davis. Just a second, I'm struggling here a little bit. 324-065. 324-065. Uh, 367. This is fine. And of course, we don't have walkable TOD areas getting to Metro. Mike, Gary Maupin, how are you? Okay, I got a little issue for you I talked to you about last time. I wanted to get our planning commissioner on the phone because you're making a presentation to the supervisors next week. And John Carter is the Hunter Mill planning commissioner. And Michael's the head of the Parking Reimagined, and I think yeah, he's got quite a job. Yeah. All right. So Michael, last meeting we talked a little bit about the issue of Reston TSA. You have a reduction at the TOD level, and then the TSA level being a 30 space reduction, right? And 40% for the TOD. And then the level outside the TSA is, if it's a redevelopment area, it's 20. If it's, I'm now getting confused myself, I'm not looking at it. It's 10 in certain circumstances and 0 in others, right? Right. Yeah. Mhm. Okay. The issue in Reston is there's kind of 3 levels to our TSAs, and we'll let John explain this. And we think the demarcation should be TOD in some of this going directly to the baseline. So instead of TSA to the baseline, it would be TOD with the TSA and the baseline treated the same. And John, if you could maybe explain this. Right. Right. No, no, it's not gonna do that. It's leaving them as is. A 30% parking reduction. Reston is just done differently than the other TSAs in the county and TDs. Well, I think this is going to end up to be a real problem in Reston because it is done differently, and if it's treated the same as others, then it's going to be a real Reston problem. And that's going to stay that way in this plan. It may be a shock if anything. I mean, we're working right with it. We're working. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. No. Well, that's not going to happen, Michael. It's just not going to. Right. I think it's good. It's going to be. The, well, how do they have access to transit? By getting in a car where there's no parking? We don't, Reston also has, as does maybe a couple of the ones in further down in Tyson's, real parking issues in relation to the use of the metro. So the metros are not accessible south of Wheelie. It's not. Reston Town Center is a disaster for walkability. And I think in the words you have Reston side, it's a walkable area. Well, it is, but it's not to the metro. It's really difficult to get to the metro. So you don't have people who are going to walk to the metro. And they're going to get. I understand, but this is nothing like other stations down the line. And right, yeah. Right. 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 Except in Reston, it's not the case in Reston. Well, we're well aware of the issues. We're the problem is that there isn't enough parking to accommodate the people that want to use the metro, and they're going to drive a mile rather than take. They're going to have to get in their car to go to metro where there won't be any parking, so that means they won't use metro. Right. Right. Yeah. Remind us, well, but you can see the problem we have with people making those choices. I mean, somehow this all needs to be really, really clear, Michael, or we'll have, bad decisions made. Yeah, the one problem that generally happens though is developers are looking for, less parking. I mean, we have a residential building here that, doesn't, or a couple of them that don't have enough parking. And the reason they did that, the developer that built the building took advantage of building less, and now the rental isn't fully, used because there's not enough parking. And so the developer saves, whatever it is, 50,000 a parking spot, but the person that buys the building and tries to run it and have, good, number of people, 90% in the building or more, 95. Well, they won't get it because the parking spots aren't there. Yeah. Yeah, I will say that Montgomery County does it by distance, right? I mean, Matt, right? Something to think about, Dave. Okay. Yeah. So other comp plans in Virginia, for instance, don't do that. They use the maps and across the country. I think it's tradition and right. So if you look at our state capital, it uses maps. Right, right. Mapping with distance. Thank you for talking. No, he's just he just pointed out he worked over there with these kind of things where they use the mapping and so forth. And it works pretty well. And, you know, they have less issues. That's the point. So thank you for talking, Michael. You take care. Bye. You too. Bye. So John. Hi. No, actually, it was a pop. No way. Vicky? I take this whole thing, right? Well, I take these two, only the two. And this whole big thing. Yeah.